How's it going, me old China? You're looking a little bit cream crackered. Fancy a cup of Rosy Lee? So, there is an example of Cockney rhyming slang. Today we're going to look at why it evolved, when it was created, why we use it, and more importantly, do we still use it? There are lots of theories about why it started, but it was predominantly used amongst working class people in the East End of London, probably originated around the middle of the 19th century, maybe a bit earlier, and it's evolved over the generations and become a part of quite regular everyday speech. Some bits have sort of filtered in more than others, but its original purpose was a little bit unknown, but we can guess it was basically to keep language deliberately confusing so that people could use it and other people, maybe the authorities, wouldn't know what they were referring to. The whole concept is that you take something, for example, like a china plate, and you find something that rhymes with it, in this case, mate. That's it. And we shorten it even more to China, the old China, and that means friend, mate. The other phrase I used was cream crackered. Rhymes with knackered, okay, which is informal but not rude. It's a bit informal, a bit casual, but cream crackered means knackered, okay. And then finally I offered my mate, my china plate, a cup of Rosy Lee, which rhymes with tea. Guessed it if you got that right, well done. So tea, yeah. We probably wouldn't use it that much in one sentence, you know. We would incorporate a few bits here and there, and yes, yeah, it's still used, not for the same reasons. Well, it might be, but I mean, it's quite well known now, so it would be hard to actually keep it secret, certainly in this country. But of course, if English is not your first language, it could be really confusing. And the next important thing to add is that people everywhere in the UK may use it just because it's become so famous. You don't have to be in the East End anymore or come from the East End to actually use it. My ancestry, my grandparents and great-grandparents did come from around the East End of London and sort of surrounding areas, so I was used to hearing it quite a bit. But having said that, not every Londoner will use it, but you may hear the odd phrase creep in here and there, and you think, what does that mean? Let's look at another couple of examples. So some common ones are apples and pears, which rhymes with stairs. How do we actually use it in a sentence? This is a question I get asked a lot. So we would say, I'm going up the old apple and pears. You often hear old brought in for some reason in Cockney speech, means I'm going upstairs. Another one is barnet. It's quite common to use. Barnet fair, hair. So somebody would shorten it again and say, I like your barnet. It's looking really nice. I like your barnet. Hair. And there again, if somebody said to you, I like your barnet, you'd think, my what? So rhymes with hair, okay? One you may have heard actually, which is quite common, is people say, use your loaf. Use your loaf. Loaf of bread. Head. So it's another phrase we use to talk about using your brains, basically. And another one that's very common is we would talk about having a butcher's. Again, it's got nothing to do with the butcher's shop. Let's have a butcher's at that. Sorry, butcher's hook. Look. Let's have a look. Oh, let's have a butcher's. Shorten it again. Let's have a butcher's. Let's have a butcher's at your barnet and I'll get us a nice cup of Rosy Lee. This would be a very confusing sentence, and as I say, maybe you wouldn't use all of it, but some people might. So you would hear quite a bit maybe in the course of a conversation and be very confused about it. So here are some phrases that are quite common examples. The other thing to mention is that it does evolve a little bit as well. So, for example, in the old days, we used to say, go for a ruby, which is Ruby Murray was an old Irish singer in the 1950s, and it means curry. And apparently now people are saying Andy Murray to use it for a new generation. And a slightly more modern one you might have heard as well is it's all gone Pete Tong. It's all gone Pete Tong, and it means wrong. I say modern, it's probably about 20 years old or more, but yeah, considering how long this has been going, it's comparatively modern. As always, leave a like if you liked, consider subscribing, and I hope it was helpful to introduce you to the concept or the topic of Cockney rhyming slang, what it is, with some examples. There's plenty more, but we wouldn't have time to go through every single one. But I hope that's helped. Thank you and goodbye.